Hey there, welcome to our kitchen. I'm Jenny, one of Festival's Mealtime Mentors. Today we're working with our friends at Skippy to make some air fryer PB&J donuts. So I love these donuts because they start with a really easy homemade dough. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I have a large mixing bowl here. If you have a stand mixer, you can go ahead and get that fitted with your dough hook. If you don't have a stand mixer, it's totally okay. You can cook along with me and use a large mixing bowl and a sturdy wooden spoon. So I'm going to go ahead and add in our warm low-fat milk. The warm is really important. You want to make sure the milk is not too hot because it will kill the yeast, but you also don't want the milk to be too cold because then it won't be warm enough to activate the yeast. So once your milk is in the bowl, you can go ahead and add your yeast in and then a little bit of sugar just to get the yeast going. I'm going to go ahead and give this a stir. And we want that to come together. And once it's combined, we're going to go ahead and let this sit for about 10 minutes or until it is nice and foamy. All right, the yeast looks nice and foamy, so we're going to go ahead and add in the rest of our ingredients. We have some more sugar, a little bit of salt, 1 egg, and then some melted butter. Oops. And I have about 3 cups of flour here. I'm going to go ahead and add in about 2 cups of it, and then I'll slowly add in that remaining cup at the end. I just want to stir all of this together first. So this is where a stand mixer would come in handy, but if you don't have one, you just get a little bit of a workout. All right, so as you can see, the dough is still pretty sticky. I'm going to go ahead and add in the remaining bit of flour and stir that in. And if your dough is still too sticky, you can continue adding in flour just a little bit at a time until it's nice and smooth. And if you are stirring everything with a spoon, you can go ahead and get your hands dirty and just start kneading the dough. So we want to knead the dough until everything is really smooth and elastic. It takes about 5 minutes. You can turn this out onto a floured surface and knead it, or just simply knead it in your bowl. If the dough is sticking to the side of the bowl or if it's sticking to your hands, that means you need a little more flour in there. So just go ahead and sprinkle a little bit in at a time. All right. So as you can see, the dough is nice and smooth, it's not too sticky, and it's pretty elastic. So at this point, you would put this into a greased bowl. Another large bowl is great, and then cover it loosely with plastic wrap, and then set it aside in a warm place to rise. You want it to double in size, so that will take about 30 to 45 minutes. All right, as you can see, our dough is nice and big now, so we're going to go ahead and roll it out. I'm going to go ahead and lightly flour the surface I'm working with so the dough doesn't stick. And I'm just going to get the dough onto my work surface, working kind of gently so that I'm not deflating the dough. And then I will lightly just coat this in flour too. So we want this to be about a 1/2 inch thick. You should be able to get roughly 10 donuts out of this, so you don't want it to be too thin. All right, that's looking good. So now you can take your cookie cutter, about a 3-inch round cutter. If you don't have a cookie cutter, you can just use a drinking glass with a nice big rim. And then we will go ahead and just cut out circles. So you definitely don't need any fancy equipment. Glass works just fine. If you were making traditional donuts, you could go ahead and cut out the center of it with a smaller glass. But since we're filling these donuts, we want to leave that center intact. And once all of your donuts are cut out, you would move them onto a lightly floured sheet of parchment paper and then cover it loosely with some lightly greased plastic wrap, and set that aside to rise for about 30 minutes again so that they double in size. Okay, so the donuts have risen. I'm going to go ahead and remove this plastic wrap, and the next step is to get them into the air fryer. So the air fryer is preheated to 350. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the fryer basket and then just lightly spray the basket with some cooking spray so that the donuts don't stick. And now I'm gonna place them in here. I think I can fit about 2 donuts into my air fryer. If yours is a little bit bigger, go ahead and do some more, but you don't want to overcrowd it. And just give it a light spray on top, and we will let them cook until they're nice and brown. It'll take about 5 minutes to do that. The donuts are all beautiful and golden brown, and I've let them cool so that they're cool enough to touch. We also don't want them too warm because we're going to be putting some jelly and peanut butter in there, and if it's too warm, it will just kind of melt right out. So I'm going to go ahead and take one of the donuts, and I'm going to cut like a little X on each end of it, just big enough for me to put the filling in. I have my jelly in a piping bag. I'm just gonna put it in here and give it a squeeze. It's okay if a little bit comes out. I would always put extra jelly in. It's my favorite part. And then we are working with Skippy, so we have their new Skippy squeeze packs. These are great for peanut butter on the go. You can toss them in your bag. There's no mess. But they're also perfect for these air fryer donuts. So on the other end, I'm gonna go ahead and put the tip of this in and squeeze out the peanut butter. So they do have the natural peanut butter and the regular peanut butter, both in creamy. We like the natural one because it's a bit thinner in consistency, so it makes it a little bit easier to squeeze into the donut. So once you have your donut filled on both ends, one with jelly and one with peanut butter, you can go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of powdered sugar on top if you would like. Just makes it a little prettier. And there you have it. So I hope you fry up some donuts today, and for more recipes and resources from your mealtime mentors, visit festfoods.com.